Welcome to this episode of Horrific History and Hauntings. I'm Beth.
And I'm Ramey. We're your hosts, here to talk about the stories that the history books ignore.
From horrific epidemics and ghostly hauntings to the catastrophes and tragic events that have sickened humanity.
Do we have anything that happened today in history?
Pope John Paul II was shot on May 13th, 1981.
What? Oh, that's why I don't remember it.
Yeah.
I remember when he died. I didn't know he got shot.
I don't pay too much attention to the popes, so I don't know.
I think they're cool. There's been some pretty bad ones in the past, way back. Correct.
One got dug up and they tried him for something. I don't quite remember what it is. I need to look into that. But he got dug up and tried. His corpse tried.
I didn't know that.
One of them. I don't know which one. I just remember hearing something about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it. We're talking about the McDonald's Massacre today. Most of this information I got from a documentary I found on Amazon Prime, 1984 San Diego McDonald's Massacre, 77 minutes.
Okay.
That's the title of it. The McDonald's Massacre happened in San Ysidro, I hope I'm saying that right, on July 18th, 1984.
Mm-hmm.
The man responsible for the tragic event was James Huberty. He was a 41-year-old former security guard.
He didn't do his job very well near the end there, did he?
I really don't know, but he had some mental health issues. He walked into the McDonald's carrying several firearms, which included an Uzi, a shotgun, and a handgun. James began shooting inside the restaurant, resulting in the deaths of 21 individuals and injuring 19 others. The entire tragic event lasted for about 77 minutes. During this time, James discharged roughly 245 rounds of ammunition.
He's not a nice man.
No, he was not.
Or maybe he was. Maybe he was broken.
I think that's partially it, but
I say broken. I shouldn't say broken.
He was racist as well.
Oh, yep, that's it.
I feel like that's part of it, but
I can call him broken now.
Yeah.
If you're racist, you're broken.
Yeah, well, I feel like he was definitely broken as well, but also racist because this was mostly a Mexican area and he was racist against Mexicans. So, but I don't know why he moved there if that was the case. Why would you move somewhere full of people that you hate for whatever reason?
Maybe to cause problems. I don't know this man, so how do I know what he's thinking? I wouldn't dare do something like that if I didn't like the community, I guess. I
guess. The motive behind his actions is unknown for sure, but as I mentioned, some reports point towards him having a history of mental health problems as well as harboring feelings of frustration and anger towards society in general. I harbor frustration and anger towards society in general, but I'm not going around shooting up the fast food restaurants.
No, shoot at random locations.
What does it prove? What is it proving?
It's getting you noticed, and maybe your calls noticed, like that dude that set himself on fire at Trump's trial the other day.
I had not heard of that.
He wasn't even doing it because of Trump. He's doing it because he knew the cameras would be there and he can get his agenda out, which was, I think, some sort of conspiracy about the environment and companies. It might not be a conspiracy. I don't know. I haven't looked into it again.
It's
I just know
the dumb little girls that threw soup at a historical painting because I don't even remember what their cause was because that's just so ignorant.
Environmentalists.
Yes, I believe.
Which I'm all for the environment, but I don't think destroying a...
But that has nothing to do with the environment. You're just being ignorant.
They know to get them noticed. They know it gets them noticed. That's the thing. And that's the point. Get the word out. I'm not condoning it. I'm saying that's why they do it.
So this is what happened. Just before 4 p.m., James Huberty left his apartment armed with a 9mm Browning semi-automatic pistol, a 9mm Uzi carbine, and a Winchester 12-gauge pump-action shotgun. He was heading to the McDonald's, located only about a half a block from his apartment complex. How do blocks work?
I don't know.
We don't do blocks here where we're from. A defined area within a city that's usually surrounded by streets. It's like a section or a square of a city where buildings, houses, and businesses are located. That is not helpful at all, but okay. I don't see how that could be a proper measurement of distance.
It's basically how far you can drive or walk before you hit a road.
Oh, okay. One of his first targets was Neva Kane, the manager of the McDonald's. She had recently returned from work from her honeymoon. One of the former employees who was present during the attack recalled hearing the gunshot and witnessing Neva's body being thrown back by the impact. And that's when the chaos erupted. People started screaming, running, and trying to hide under booths and tables from the shooter. The first call to 911 was at 4 p.m., and it was reporting that a little girl had been shot. Officer Mike Rosario was the first on scene. He was dispatched to the McDonald's on the east side of town, which cost the department a few minutes because they were first sending him to the wrong McDonald's.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's the issue of having so many McDonald's.
Yes, it is. At this time, Mike didn't know about the attack still going on in the McDonald's. As far as he knew, this was just a little girl that had been shot, which I think is enough to be worried. Anyway, he parked at the post office next to the McDonald's, and he was about to walk into the post office because that's where they said the little girl was going to be. And while walking to the post office, James was walking out of the McDonald's with the Uzi, and he shot at Officer Rosario. So he took cover behind a truck as James continued to shoot in his direction.
Okay.
Yeah. As far as I know, he wasn't hit. I'm not sure, but as far as I know. Inside the McDonald's, he continued his rampage, shooting everyone in his path, pretty much. Even witnesses said even people that were obviously laying there dead, completely dead, he would go up and randomly start shooting them. I don't know if it was to make sure if he was just really trigger happy.
Okay.
I really don't know.
I have no idea. I can't imagine what goes to these people's brains.
Yeah.
This is a terrible situation.
And you don't know. Usually the way this ends, you're never going to get their opinion of it or why they did it from them. You can only assume.
Yeah. They're just nasty people. Or broken or sick people.
Yeah.
I keep calling them broken. I call myself broken when I'm sick. I don't mean no offense by it.
Oh.
I don't mean to do that.
Keith Thomas, another survivor of the massacre, was 12 years old at the time. He was shielded during the attack by Ronald Herrera, who was the father of Keith's best friend. During the attack, Ron was positioned on the outside of the booth, shielding Keith, who was on the inside. Keith was shot once. Ron, who was trying to protect him and shield him, was shot 7 times while protecting him.
That's bad.
Yeah. After the shooting was over and things had calmed down, Keith approached his best friend. I'm sorry if I mispronounced this. Matteo? Matteo? M-A-T-T-E-O.
Don't know.
I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. But Keith went to check on him, and he found him hunched over. He tried to wake him up by grabbing and pulling on his leg because he was, I guess, in shock and thought he was asleep.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until later that he realized his best friend had been killed.
That's awful.
11-year-old Joshua Coleman and his 2 friends were about to enter the McDonald's while this was happening. People were attempting to warn them to turn around and run away, but it was too late. Joshua was shot in the right arm. His friend Omar was hit in the back, and his friend David, who failed to turn around like the other 2 boys, was shot in the chest. Joshua remembered that after falling to the ground, James kept shooting at him.
Oh.
He was shooting cars around him, just shooting all around him, even though he had already fallen to the ground. He recalled that his friend David appeared to be dead almost instantly after being shot, while Omar was screaming for his mother for a while, as well as vomiting. Eventually, he did pass away. In the documentary, it shows videos of the crime scene, and there's bodies everywhere. And they get to Omar's and describe his remains and say that he is laying in pretty much a big pool of blood in his own vomit, which is really sad.
Yeah. I have a phobia of vomiting. This is like the worst way for me. Yeah. This is like the worst way.
Joshua also recounted witnessing an elderly couple walking towards the restaurant in the parking lot, and James shot the wife, I believe, in the head.
Oh.
And as the husband was leaning down to care for her, he shot him as well.
This man's a menace.
Yes. Haven't even made it inside of the restaurant yet.
It's
still
really
in the
sad.
parking lot.
I hate to see old people injured.
Yeah. Joshua was lying in the parking lot while struggling to breathe and pretending to be dead for over an hour after witnessing James shoot and kill his 2 friends.
You hear about that occasionally. Survivors using the pretend to be dead thing.
Yeah. Eventually, the shooter found people hiding in the back kitchen area. one of the girls instructed another employee to run for the emergency exit, only to discover it was kept locked.
Of course.
And the one that was told to run, she managed to miss bullets and everything.
She dodged bullets?
Yeah.
Very Matrix of her.
Yeah. She explained that McDonald's thought the employees might use the emergency door to steal food, and that's why it was locked.
Very illegal.
Yes. Your billion-dollar corporate company will be fine.
Without one McChicken.
Without your one Big Mac, maybe a fry.
Nothing worse than taking those.
You don't even get a free meal when you work, at least at the one I worked at, you didn't even get a free meal. You only got half off. You're telling me you can't afford to give your employees at least one free meal a day? Because you're only paying them, well, now I think they get paid more than minimum wage, but at the time, it was only $7.25, I want to say.
Yeah.
Where we are. You're only paying them that. That's not enough to survive, even back then. I had one decent manager, and you're supposed to throw the cookies away and the apple pies and things if you don't sell them all by the end of the closing shift. And the one manager told me, yeah, you can go ahead and take those. I didn't ask for them. She literally just told me, you can go ahead and take those because we'll just end up throwing them in the bin anyway. And then another manager, the more higher up manager, came in and pretty much forced me to give her back these cookies for her to throw away. She said, we can't do that here.
Oh, man.
And I mean, it wasn't a big deal. Like I said, I didn't even ask for it, but you're telling me that this $1 billion, that is so trashy.
Mm-hmm.
Literally just took them from me and threw them in the trash. And I didn't even ask for them anyway.
Yeah.
The 6 of the people that were hiding in the back, in the kitchen area, managed to, once they realized there's no escape because McDonald's don't trust their employees, they would rather them get shot to death or burn to death during an emergency than to worry about a McChicken or McDouble. So 6 of them managed to hide in a closet after realizing that the exit was locked. This was about the time that the shooter began shooting those that he found. So they were kind of somewhat, I guess, trying to dodge the bullets and hide from him at the same time and panicking, but they managed to get there. One that had gotten shot managed to crawl to the closet without being noticed. People inside, obviously, were skeptical when they heard knocking at the door about opening the door. And when he spoke, they realized, hey, this is our coworker. His name was Albert, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then they opened the door, and he had to bite down on a cloth to keep the sounds of his groans and pain muffled.
Oh.
With the other 6 in the closet.
What a mess.
That must have been terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
SWAT sniper Chuck Foster arrived on the scene eventually and noted that the McDonald's windows were tinted with visible bullet holes, but that the glass was not shattered. And also, the sun reflecting on the tinted glass.
So he can't do anything.
Was making it nearly impossible to see inside and get a clear shot at James. He recalled only catching a brief glimpse of James as he moved from the counter to the door, which had shattered glass. The top of the door frame blocked Chuck's view of James's head, but his torso was visible. It was at that moment that Chuck decided to pull the trigger, shooting James in the chest at around 5:20 p.m.
Did it take care of the problem?
Well, yeah. They still didn't realize the chaos and bloodbath they were going to see when they walked into the restaurant.
No.
And some of them said that they thought, where they were hearing 3 different guns, they thought maybe there was 3 different shooters. They didn't know.
Yeah. Be cautious. You won't do anybody any favors if you get shot too.
But it would later be bad for them because they were commanded not to shoot or do anything really for a while. I guess until they had more information. I don't know.
But he would have shot that dude.
Well, no. At this point, he had the green light to do so.
Okay.
Yeah. But for a while, they took that green light away, causing James, the shooter, to kill more people and people that were still living but injured to bleed to death.
I think this was still handled better than that last major school shooting wherever that one where the cops didn't go in to do anything.
Yeah. Agreed.
It looks like they happen so often, unfortunately, that they would have this down pretty well now, training-wise.
I find it a little bit weird that they don't. But, so yeah, at this point, James is dead. He was shot. They hadn't walked in. They didn't know how many people were injured and killed. And people began gathering and watching and running around searching for their loved ones. One of the younger victims was a baby named Carla. She had survived by being handed to a stranger who managed to keep her safe. And then this stranger passed her to an officer so that she could be taken to get emergency medical help because she had been shot in the head.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
How'd that work?
She ended up surviving. And
miracle baby.
Was eventually, they found her mother and took her back to her. Roughly 50 people were inside the McDonald's when the shooter came.
Must have been a large McDonald's.
It was a very busy one, according to the employees. It was very busy. Approximately 175 police officers surrounded the restaurant, and about 15 people managed to escape from the restaurant after James was taken down.
It sounds like any of them that could walk could escape at this point.
There was so much blood that some of them didn't even realize that they had been shot and that it was actually their blood that was on them when they walked out. I want to say one of the first to walk out had been shot in the leg. And they asked if she needed help, and she didn't even realize she had been shot. She was like, no, it's everybody else's blood. But it was actually hers. That's how bad it was.
Shock.
Shock. It was.
Shock.
She was in shock. Who wouldn't be?
Yep.
Many believe that the mistakes were made by the police during this whole incident. For example, the SWAT commander's beeper failed to work, causing him not to show up for about 30 minutes.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah. And he said, obviously, technology isn't what it is today. He doesn't know why the beeper, but he was very defensive during this interview in this documentary. I don't know.
You can't blame me for not knowing if he wasn't alerted.
Yeah. But he's also the one that took that green light away, and people blame that for lives
if you're
lost.
firing on, if you're not sure how many people's in there and you fire on one, they might start really taking out people.
Yeah.
So he didn't know.
Yeah. It's...
They might have been a hostage situation, and you could not risk starting a firing squad, pretty much.
Yeah. So he didn't show up to the scene until around 5 p.m. And then police asserted that they were unable to fully grasp the situation inside the restaurant due to the tinted windows and the sunlight reflecting off them, not being able to see and assess the situation.
If they didn't know if it was a hostage situation, they couldn't just barge in.
Yeah.
And if they knew it was a single guy with a gun, yeah, maybe barging in. And obviously he was shooting indiscriminately already, so might as well have barged in.
Mm-hmm.
But they couldn't see. They didn't have a phone link in, apparently. So what did they know? They couldn't take a chance.
Yeah, it's a hard to... I get both points of view. I feel like definitely there were mistakes made. They didn't know much about what they were dealing with, though.
I think the biggest mistake so far has been McDonald's.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I understand why the people that lost loved ones or was in this situation think the way that they think. Because, yes, obviously that time loss caused probably many people that could have been saved to lose their lives. But also, at this time, I feel like the whole shooting thing wasn't as big as it is these days. And the police, the SWAT, they probably weren't trained properly or knew what to do in this situation.
Was he the only one late? Did the rest of his team already show up? They just couldn't do anything because he wasn't there.
I'm not really sure. It just said his beeper didn't work.
You would imagine they all have beepers.
I would assume
Surely
so.
he don't have to call each of them individually.
Joey's fire department one, I feel like they all would have one.
His beeper go off, and then he has to call everybody individually himself.
Oh, that would be terrible. Afterwards, to identify or help identify victims, especially the children who wouldn't have identification on them, the police had to take pictures of the crime scene of their remains, and they set them up for people to view so that people in this auditorium could go up and determine if any of their victims was their family members or loved ones who did not survive the attack.
That's gruesome.
Yeah.
Needs to be done, but it's gruesome.
Yeah.
The only time I could see I've seen this many people in a McDonald's is on a field trip for school, and like 2 buses would unload into a single McDonald's.
I remember I seen one of those while I was out in my car on break while working at a McDonald's, and I drove away.
Yeah.
I drove away.
They always happen at the cookout over here in Bristol.
Because I knew they would ask me. They would put their head through that drive-through window and call me to come back inside. And I was like, nope,
I can't blame you one bit.
This is my break time.
Yeah.
Some members of the police force admitted that they felt they did not properly serve and protect effectively that day. They acknowledged that while they did their jobs, they were not adequately trained or equipped to handle such a situation. They say now that they have upgraded things and started training and tried to learn from this to be better equipped to handle a shooting, should it ever occur in the future.
That is your job.
Yeah.
So good on you.
Yeah. James's wife contacted the media the day after the massacre.
Okay.
She informed them that the days leading up to the shooting and how James, her husband, the shooter, had been displaying a strong hate of immigrants.
Oh.
After relocating from Ohio to Tijuana the year before, James had lost his job there before moving to San Ysidro. He, as I said, especially hated Mexican immigrants, so I don't know why he chose that area to move.
Maybe it was affordable. Maybe the only place he could. No,
Maybe.
I don't know.
The day before the shooting, he had called a mental health clinic to seek assistance, but they told him, we'll call you back, and his call was never returned. Good job, health clinic. Look what you did.
Crisis hotline, like suicide prevention hotline?
Useless.
That might have been surely the suicide prevention hotline could have helped you there
hope
too.
That they weren't, but yeah, I don't know.
There's a hotline for everything now. If you have an issue, Google it and it will take you to the right place.
On the morning of the shooting, James had gone to court to appeal a traffic ticket.
Oh, goodness.
Which he did get appealed. He apparently left the courthouse in a pleasant mood.
Came out to find his car had a new ticket on it.
After leaving the courthouse, him and his family decided to have a meal at the McDonald's located not far from the courthouse, but this was not the same McDonald's as the one he chose to shoot everybody in.
This is so weird.
After that, they went to the zoo. And that's where apparently James told his wife, quote, well, society had its chance.
Did somebody look at him the wrong way while there?
The mental health clinic really needed to call back. She said she didn't know what this meant. She just thought he was being his, I guess, paranoid self.
Yeah.
I don't know. But later at their apartment, he told her that he was going out to hunt people.
Oh.
With guns.
Ma'am, you should have probably reported that.
Yeah, probably. I'm pretty sure he wasn't able to hide that shotgun and Uzi from you as he was walking out saying he was going to hunt people.
Would you take somebody seriously if they just said that to you, though? I don't know. I mean, nowadays, maybe. But
with what he was going through and saying throughout the few days before, yeah. You're going into town, walking into town with 3 different guns. Normal people don't do that.
Can you imagine when she was watching the news and found out about this?
Well, she's not a great person herself. She actually tried to sue McDonald's for $5 million, and she claimed that the food had somehow contributed to her husband's committing the mass shooting.
Oh, America.
Clearly, she lost.
I wonder if it was.
Because
I wonder
that's
if that
a big bag of
McDonald's he went
bullshit.
to before the zoo caused this. In his mind, anyway. Something took him to that McDonald's.
McDonald's food has never made me want to do anything like this.
No. Matter of fact, I'm craving a
never
McCafe caramel frappe.
But I don't know.
With Oreo in it.
She tried to sue McDonald's. No, there's no way. What would the food have done? What's in the food?
Maybe it was. I don't.
Did they give you old fries or something?
I like the fries old. I'll put mine in the fridge and let them cool off and then nibble on them at night.
Well, that's good. The survivor that crawled into the closet, Albert, actually ended up becoming a police officer because of his experience during this shooting. I want to say he was a teenager when it happened.
Well, good. He made something out of his tragedy.
Yeah. I'm going to try to name the victims. There's quite a few.
Try?
Some of these names I know I'm going to not pronounce correctly.
Apologies beforehand in that case.
Yes. This one I'm not even going to try. Arisdelci.
Don't leave a silence behind it because I won't know it either.
I don't know. Vargas was their last name. It's age 3.
Ooh.
Wait, that doesn't make sense. No, it wasn't age 3.
What?
No.
Why does it not make sense?
That had to be a typo because I also put shielded her best friend who ended up surviving.
That's a brave 3-year-old, Beth.
Yeah, I'm going to think that maybe it was a typo and it was either 30s or 13. So I apologize for that.
I see what you meant by try now.
Yeah. Gus Versluis, age 62. Michelle Carncross, age 18. Claudia Perez, age 9. Elsa Borboa, age 19.
That's a cool name.
Yeah. Hugo Velasquez, age 45. The manager, Neva Kane, age 22. She had only been married to her husband for 6 weeks.
Oh.
Paulina Aquino, age 21. According to her sister, Paulina didn't want to go to work that day due to a headache. However, her sister insisted that she should go because she just recently started the job.
Blames herself, of course.
And sadly, her sister feels guilt about that.
Yeah.
Victor Rivera, age 25. Jose Ruben Lozano, age 19. Omar Hernandez, age 11. Miguel Victoria, age 74. And Ada Victoria, age 69. I'm not sure, but I believe that was the couple that Joshua witnessed getting shot.
Yeah, it sounds like a couple.
Yeah. Maria Elena Colmenero, age 19. Gloria Lopez, age 23. Margarita Padilla, age 18. Blythe Herrera, age 31. Tried to shield Mateo,
I bet.
Mateo Herrera, age 11, who did not survive.
Neither one of them made it.
Yeah.
That's particularly sad, too.
Mm-hmm. David Flores, age 11. Jackie Wright, age 18, shielded her niece Aurora, who ended up surviving.
That is nice.
Jackie's son, Carlos, 8 months old, did not survive the attack. Jackie was shot 48 times with an Uzi, and she was pregnant at the time.
Oh.
Yeah. Witnesses recounted that one of the victims, Victor Rivera, attempted to persuade James to change his mind about shooting everybody. But despite his efforts, he was tragically shot 14 times. A monument honoring the victims was built in 1990. The monument was created by a student of Southwestern College, which had taken over the location where the McDonald's once stood in 1988.
They tore down the whole thing.
Yeah, I want to say I watched another documentary before I started actually doing it for this. I want to say that they were trying to clean it up and keep it, but people were obviously upset about that.
It was a little off-putting when you were eating your family meal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
But.
And
that's their little.
There's a
McDonald's
lot of young victims
Massacre.
there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a McDonald's.
Yeah.
They had a play area. And
oh, I forgot. They've taken so many of them out now. I forgot about those.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's even worse to think about.
That's kind of sad.
It's the point. Yes, it's.
No, I mean, taking out the play area. Oh. This is more than sad. This is just horrible. Nonsense. There was no reason for this.
Apparently, it was the food or something. McDonald's' fault, obviously.
No, she just thought she was going to make.
Yeah, her husband was gone, and she was going to. That's her retirement.
But no.
I've never seen such an interesting case of trying to be a victim there.
I mean,
obviously, she wasn't 100% not the victim. She didn't do it herself.
No, she didn't do it, and who knows what she had to live with him this whole time.
Yeah,
that's unknown. That's sadly when it comes to, as I mentioned before, these massacres and shootings and all that. It usually ends in a way where you don't get to hear from the shooter himself, so you don't know.
And it's very rare the victim gets affairs, or the families get their fair say in it, too.
Yeah.
Because they're not the ones who went out and done it. They might have overlooked some important stuff, but everybody overlooks things their family does a lot.
Yeah.
Or just don't occur to them that this might be a problem. Sometimes it's easily done. It is terrible. This is a tragedy, and I can't believe I never heard of it. Of course, we have so many now.
Well, I really need to start whenever somebody's recommending something, I need to write down who recommended it. Because
Mom did.
I know she did this one, but there's a few others that she's recommended, and I think you've recommended some, and I've put them down in the episode ideas, but I didn't put
I'll
that
tell
they
you
were
if
recommended.
I ever hear one I remembered recommending. Alrighty. Well, this was educational, if nothing else.
Yeah.
If you know somebody that needs help, please help them find help, because apparently you can't just rely on local clinics every time.
Yeah.
There's, like I said, a lot of hotlines you can get a hold of. Just Google it. Worst come to worst, emergency services. They would happily get that call than the one that results. I'm sure. Of course, I'm no expert, but that's, if you ask me, that's how I would handle it.
Don't lock your emergency exits, companies. There's laws against that now.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was a law back then.
It might have been what led to the law. A lot of times the things we cover lead to these kinds of changes in the law. Okay. Well, thank you for telling me. If you like what you heard here, or enjoyed it, or found it educational, I don't know if I should say, did you like this story about a massacre? We have a lot of other things we cover. Not so well, tragic, but sometimes more humorous in different ways. Older stories, tragedy plus time equals comedy, they say. We have a whole bunch of other stuff. We're part of the Gruesome Gaming Group podcast network. There'll be a link in the description. It's a Linktree link. You click on it, it'll show you all of our other social content, our socials, and our main website will be at the top of the Linktree. It will let you find our other podcasts like Brother Knows Quest, which is a podcast from, I tell Beth here about a different tabletop role-playing game each week. Or Leveling Duo, it's a podcast where I tell, or me and Beth do, or me and Dakota do, my friend, talking about new video games we played or old ones we played. They don't come out from every week because we don't play a different game every week, but they do come out occasionally. And we have this one. And the other socials, you could use those to reach out to us, follow what we're doing, let us know what you think. Below the Linktree link, there will be a email for Beth, and then another one for myself. Hers is the horrific history and haunting ones. Mine's the gruesome gaming group one. If you have any reason to reach out, also you could use those. And below that will be a option to support the page or the podcast if you want. It will help us keep the podcast hosted so we can keep coming out with more episodes. And I guess that's it. Beth, do you have anything else to say?
No.
All right. Well, thank you again. I have been Ramey.
And I'm Beth.
And this has been HH&H. Bye-bye.